Yo, what's up guys? So today I'm going to be telling y'all a little bit about what y'all need to start your own wood workshop. But first, I gotta clean this mess up. So now that that's all cleaned up, let's get into the basics. The first thing I'd recommend is a 7-inch square. This one's just a hyper tough. The biggest thing when you're shopping for a square is you want to make sure you get the metal ones. You don't want the plastic ones because those can bend, break, warp, whatever. Also, if you're buying a cheap square, like I bought a hyper tough, this thing might have been like $3. But if you're buying a cheap square, a big thing is you want to make sure it's a true square, because a lot of those cheap brands will just kind of funk it up, and next thing you know, you don't have a true to size square. Another big thing is a hammer. So you don't have to have a hammer, like if you don't plan on doing a lot of nail projects where you're nailing it in, but I do recommend a hammer even if you're not doing nail projects, just because they are good for if you have to adjust something, you can hit it. But a big thing is, do not get a milled face hammer. This one's a flat face. This is perfect for doing finishing work. As long as you're not beating on something or anything like that, it won't mark it up. But if you do get like a waffle hammer or a milled face hammer, it's just gonna create divots, create indents, and then it's gonna make your project look like crap. Another big thing is a tape. I use a 35-foot tape, but you could use anywhere from a 16-foot tape to a 40-foot tape. It really doesn't matter. I prefer a 35 because I know I'm not going to do any projects above that, but it would be nice to just know that if I do a 33-inch or a 33-foot project, that I do have enough tape for it. This thing is like a man's best friend. This is like your wiener. You cannot live without this. Another big thing is a level. This one's just a cheap little hyper tough 24-inch level. You don't have to go Jurassic on it. You don't have to go buy a Johnson level. It's not that serious. You do want it to be true level, but like with these plastic ones, these are perfect because you'll know if it's warped, anything like that, because it'll show just by looking at it. Okay, so let's get into power tools, the meat and potatoes of this video. A big thing when buying power tools is make sure the brand that you are buying from is the brand you stick with, because you don't want to have 4 different batteries. I personally use Bosch. I think they're the best brand. They have all the options for me, but just make sure it's right for you. If you want Ryobi, go get Ryobi. I've heard all sorts of good things. I used to have Ryobi. It is a very good brand. If you want Milwaukee, that would probably be your best bet, Milwaukee and DeWalt, just because they have every single thing that you would want or you could imagine. If you're doing plumbing, anything like that, they have it. So the first thing that I would buy is a circular saw. This is a Bosch left side 6.5-inch blade battery powered circular saw. You don't need battery powered. They also come with cords. My biggest thing for choosing a battery powered saw is I do a lot of stuff where I'm not around outlets, so it just became easier. But a big thing when looking for a saw is just what size wood are you cutting. I'm not going to be cutting anything more than 4 inches, so I don't really need something that's like, I don't need a 7 1/4. So I just got a little 6.5-inch, works perfect. Next thing I would suggest is a palm sander. This one's a Bosch. As you can tell, everything that is battery powered is Bosch. Like with the circular saw, they do make these corded. Actually, with every power tool, they have a corded version. Just some power tools are a lot easier to use if they're battery powered, just like this one. It's a lifesaver, especially if you're doing finishing work. This is a necessity. So another thing that you're gonna want is an impact drill. So this one is the Bosch impact drill. Love it, it's perfect, it works. I mean, that's all I can really say about it. Again, they do make these corded. This and the drill are the only tools I will say, do not buy a corded version. If that's in your budget and that's all you can afford, do it. But I would just recommend doing battery powered, because if you do battery powered, you can use it anywhere without an outlet. And the last thing I'd absolutely recommend is a drill. This is perfect for if you're just drilling holes or screwing screws. You don't actually need an impact driver. You can just use a drill. I like impact drivers for when I'm screwing stuff in. It's just easier to screw it in. But as you can tell, battery powered, Bosch, all there is. So now getting into stuff that you don't absolutely need, but I would probably recommend just because it's a lot easier to do it with these tools. So one of the things that I would recommend is a jigsaw. They're perfect for if you're doing a lot of squiggly cuts, just because if you try to use your circular saw for circular cuts or anything like that, it will bind up, it will ruin the blade, and it probably will hurt you. But this is just a cheap little bar. I bought it from Harbor Freight. It was like $40 and it works perfectly. I've had it for probably 6 months now, has no problems. So another thing that you don't need, but it's actually a game changer, is a grinder. This works perfectly if you don't have a planer. Like my planer broke, so I don't have a planer. So I use this every now and again if I need to, do some touch-ups on work and it needs to be flattened out. The big thing with these, they are aggressive, so don't be using it on like a finished product, because they will ruin it. So the last thing I'll tell y'all don't need, but y'all probably should get, is a table saw. This is just a cheap little Craftsman $200 table saw. I think it has like an 8 1/4 inch blade on it. That's all I need, because the most thickness that I'm cutting through is gonna be 2 inches. They're good for if you're trying to rip things down, or if you need like an accurate cut on something, then you can set your guard up to the ideal width that you want. Another thing that would be very important is you do want a lot of PPE. You want masks, you want glasses, stuff like that, because when you're cutting, you don't want any of that stuff to get in your eyes. God only gave you 2 eyes. It's not like you can just go to the store and buy a new one. And a mask is very important, because you don't want to be breathing in all that dust. That I've done that before, hurts my lungs. It's just not good. Another thing that you're gonna really want is a lot of extra blades. I have at least 2 at a time blades for my circular saw, for my jigsaw, for my table saw, stuff like that. And then if you get a sander, a big thing that you're gonna want is you're gonna want sanding pads. So I just realized that I forgot a couple of tools in there. One big one is a miter saw. You are going to want to get a miter saw at some point, but you can get by with a circular saw. The big reason I say that is because a lot of the cuts that you can do on a miter saw, you can just replicate with a circular saw. The only reason you want a miter saw is because you don't want to have to sit there and question if your cut's perfectly on point. Another thing is a planer. I did talk about it, but I didn't actually say if you should get one or shouldn't. I would definitely recommend getting a planer, just because it's a lot better than a grinder when you're trying to get stuff leveled down with each other. And then the last thing is clamps. You're going to want a lot of clamps if you're doing glue ups and stuff like that. You can get pipe clamps, you can get quick clamps, you can get F clamps, you can get parallel clamps, you can get any form of clamp. I would recommend getting pipe clamps. They're a little bit cheaper, and also they work the best in my opinion, but I do have parallel clamps. They work very well. Those are going to be your most expensive ones. And then you can get F clamps or quick clamps. Those are just for like if you're trying to do a quick little glue up. But if y'all like this, please like, subscribe, share it out, and comment down below what your favorite part was. I'll see y'all in the next one.